So I threw myself into a motorbike journey on a Royal Enfield in India. I started in the south just after New Year's Eve. I had a test first to see if I could do it, which was drive from a hill station tea area to Madurai, an ancient temple in Madurai. It was very arduous the first time I rode a bike through the traffic. I'd been riding for about 12 hours and it was scary as hell. I survived and I didn't fall off or get hit. I navigated and I thought I can do this. I can do this for 6 months. The drawings were a way of dealing with the stress response of being in India for 6 months alone on the bike, travelling from the south of India to the north, the very north, way up to Leh Ladakh, which used to be an inaccessible area of Tibetan, Indian, Buddhist, an ancient in-between world between the Siberian steppes, or the Himalayan steppes in China and India. Even way back before Buddha, there was temple practices, magic, shamanism, you might say. And so the blue gods of the civilization, the Shiva, the Krishna, the Kali, and many, many more male and female progenitor gods. I'm interested in ancient civilizations in a psychological, mythological, and what it means to be truly human. The other forms of, before science became a sectarian priesthood of reality forming, internal practice and astrotheology, symbolism and art were all kind of one, and there may have been a form of embodied alchemic sciencism, magic, divination, discipline, devotion that isn't integrated in our culture. So I'm really interested in these ancient cultures, and I went to Egypt too on this trip for a visa. I'd already been doing a lot of research, continual podcasts, YouTube lectures. I wasn't seeking a teacher in India except for the journey itself and every normal Indian person I had to deal with to get my needs met. The teacher mainly was my own inner self, higher self, my own unconscious, my own feedback loops of instant karma that happen in India. Instant karma happens in India. So you get hassled so much, but if you project that hassle onto the next interaction, you create the hassle. And it's pretty obvious that you're telling your own story through your own actions continually. Reaction cycle, which is the same as everyday life, but in India it's so much more present, especially as an outsider, a foreigner. So these works are kind of notations from my themes, discourses, beyond name and form, the gateless gate. I mean, that was an Alan Watts lecture talking about probably Chinese Buddhism and Zen koans. So, you know, I'm a liberal cherry picker of wisdom culture, if you like, but also a fragmented, somewhat lost, liberal, self-taught intellectual who's retrogressively activating his inner teen with adult content. Enough self-analysis. I'm really proud of this body of work. I made it basically in the mornings in crappy hotels. Your checkout would be, 12 o'clock. So I'd wake up, drink coffee, listen to my podcasts and music and rock and text and email desperately to the handful of friends that would actually reply regularly. Thank you, Barry, Barinthia. Thank you, Nigel Fanshawe. Thank you, Stephen Farrell, sorry. And thank you, Emmett Snake Beings. People that actually were virtually there. And thank you, me. I was always there. So yeah, drawing becomes a way of connecting with yourself. It's essential. It's diary work. Like a lot of my work, there's a slippery boundary zone between what's personal and what's sort of art, language projection. And, I simply go, well, the immediate, the intimate, the genuine, the geek is actually as relevant as the polished, the refined, the synthetic, the intellectual, the abstracted, the post-studio practice. I'd like to think that this is sort of an ancient scholarly practice, regardless, of whether it looks like cartoons, autodidactic, outsider art. The kid that I was severely disassociated and mind-fiddled with by a Christian schizophrenic. And then, you're overeating, watching the Omen films with whole bran muffins. Yeah. I think work that speaks around mental health and self-knowledge through depression, alienation is really important. I mean, how do I give my life meaning in a world that doesn't give my life meaning, i.e. unemployable, slight learning disorder, slight reading problems, slight dyslexia, I'm only good if I get A pluses. I'm only good if I earn 150 grand a year. This kind of ideology of our way of life, it's counterfeit. It's a pyramid scheme of servers serving servers serving servers. A culture is lived, it's not curated, it's not designed. The digital hijack of culture is sort of some kind of psychic AI robotic shift to deferral to authority, So my consent I give myself is simply that I can draw my story, go through my process, speak of the wider process I think I'm part of, including the cosmic one. So India, I was sort of projecting my colonial white, reasonably middle class standard of self-taught, intellectual, maverick, dropout, whatever you want to call it, culture to a sort of Indian class and ancient system. The mystics has always tried to define what the real and the unreal is and embody the real. It is devotion, it's not a sappy notion of God and Goddies, it's the beloved, it's life itself, it's being itself, it's being this self, it's being all self, it's being a universe inside this meat sack of encased ego, as Alan Watts says. So that's the fundamental technology that turns me on. This DNA, this photonic receiver transmitter of imagination and play. This is as high as it gets for us mammals. play, play, play. Instinctive, innate, immediate, unconscious, telepathic, integrated. Get it wrong. So this is just a style of drawing. The graphic narratives, it's there's lots. I really like the expressionism. A friend gave me a book of Rodin watercolours the other day, just gorgeous. Drawing works on paper, direct, energetic imprints of a language of making from the maker. Drawing is blue jeans. Drawing is a guitar. Drawing is Michelangelo, and drawing is your kid's felt drawing on the fridge. It's... I sold that one. Oh yes, that's right, she couldn't even read it. She liked it, she brought it. Sold a few at the opening. Warwick Brown's gallery, Allerton Gallery in Allerton Road. Warwick has been an awesome host, awesome informed granddad, art collector, aficionado, writer, awesome archivist, privileged Kiwi, works hard, had all the toys he wanted, beautiful kids, gives back to his community through his merit, buys art. I wouldn't be here if I didn't work hard. But he's honest. He's an honest Kiwi, votes national. But lets a rat bag like me live here for free for a bit if I'm going to do a show. Good man. Yeah, I've done all the setup work. I printed the flyers, made the book, set the show up, cleaned up the space. We both worked at it. It's a good wee show, honest. And I really like the fact that it's not a dealer in this instance, because it's very personal. It's very personal work, and it's a personal relationship I have with the man too. I don't have males in my life like him. I mean, I do actually, but not official family. A little bit of a fatherless boy. So it's really nice to connect with an older chap. There's a sense of sort of a continuum beyond the self and maybe our intent. There's a sort of Kiwiness that is sort of a New Zealand identity that's been downgraded and globalised and synthesised away through the academies, and everything is a sort of histrionic quip. And you could see my work like that, sure, if you wanted. It's not, but you could see it like that if you wanted to give it that shine of cool. But I was a kid that was stoned out of his tree as a teenager and simply liked graphic novels for the places they went. Alan Moore, The Watchmen, Judge Dredd, hanging around with Joe and Jesse Hammond, and looking at graphic novels, getting stoned, and sort of going to Tony Delatour openings and watching Bill's, career ascension and all that stuff. Christchurch, do-it-yourself, punk bands, Pumpkinhead, 147 Swordfish, Loves Ugly Children, Belter Space, Hamster, EST, the 90s, before the internet really started hacking into our mind, where people actually lived a culture, Now, it's still kind of there. I mean, I'm older, it's hard to say, but yeah, there was a sense of a sort of underground community. So that self-permission's really important in art. Be it salubrious and beautiful, or be it disturbed, But telling the truth. You know, they tell you when you're a kid, tell the truth. You know, why? Truth set you free. Does it? It does if you own it. And then, if you're really honest, go a level above your own truth. Go a level above, expand the principle to a wider degree and go, okay, there's stuff going on that I don't know. I can't know. And I'm just going to have to trust at some point. Have faith that there's a process I'm part of, even in my diagnosis, that is beyond the rational and linear. And of course, so faith isn't a religious idea alone. It's something that we need to transition from one mode of economy, which is fake anyway. So a lot of my work does talk about this takeover. New Zealand's still a community. We're still amazing islands adrift in the Pacific. So this is where I've been staying. There was an amazing gong ceremony at the opening. My friend Beatrice. And that sort of channeled through another layer of vibration. Yep, I'm being a wee bit indulgent with the length of this video, but I'm documenting my show, so, you know, you can hang around or not, I don't mind. So actually, some of these were done in Iceland as well. You know, the journey that I did was from south of India to the Himalayas. Went to Egypt during that time from Mumbai, came back. And then I won a paper award in Nova Scotia and went there to collect my prize, collect my work and do the residency. And my work was hung in an empty church studio. And there was a friend I met there called Aaron Cross, who's an assistant professor at Duane University in Nebraska, of all places. And we made these light transfer, I forget what they're called, but I really like the figures and faces. And there's almost a South Island in the bottom one there, very cosmic. And Nova Scotia had the world's largest tides coming into the Bay of Fundy. And there was amethyst crystals that the indigenous people would make into necklaces, found in that area, a lot of geological action. And I found a crystal and I had a really big cry about my mum and hanging out with some of the people in the residency. And so this is the gate, the deconstructed gate that was in the church, and I've deconstructed it down to single panels, but this was a mural piece made of 22 different paper, and it's a very different way of working on paper than the graphic work that this show is. I associated the burn circle with this wonderful small, come on, focus, yeah, this wonderful little tin plate that Mr. Thomason did, that Warwick still owns. So yeah, there's this sort of circle relation. This is an element I burnt onto the paper. It's kind of the pendulum, Roberto Eco's ecological sort of tipping point, sun setting, chaos, also ascension mythology, you know, phase shift within the within, revolting peasant, whoop whoop, upsize, DNA, meat flower, Cro-Magnon, you know, so little fragments of old works. Yeah, this is a serious body of work I'd really like to show in a formal context that I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. But in this instance, I sort of made it like a multi-layered thing. So I'm really interested in tectonics and layer. I mean, I went to the Himalayas not only for the sort of, cultural journey and pilgrimage to the high mountains, but, also, there's a shamanic intent around journey for me that is about the land and the energy of this planet as a living being. And, the Indian subcontinent is ramming up against that place. And the crinkly mountains, and my mountains, the Southern Alps, Te Waiponamu, the South Island, is the same effective force. So, there's a living energy, and of course, cultures are from living energies. They're not synthetic hybrids. Cultures form from the land itself, from the energy, from the elementals, and that takes time. And I'm not anti-technology. I'm far from it. I mean, my whole life is groomed inside the maw, the maw of this container, But, let's not forget that the sun, the photons, the pulsar from Cygnus, the DNA spin, I mean, this is, we are embedded in a far greater technology, if you want to look at it like that, than any magics that we could... The mind-made manacles that, is it Wordsworth? Not Wordsworth, Byron? Yes, it was Byron. Blake, yeah, the Romantics, eh? We're talking about the Industrial Revolution and the loss of sovereignty and soul to the machine and all this, and hello, I'm a romantic. I really am. So, I don't know, I mean, art... I got brought up by a bit of a radical revolutionary type, solo mother, and, I've certainly used my art to feel like I've been fighting something, but ultimately I think I'm devotional when it comes down to it. You can't, so... Ganesh. This is Warwick's. Oh, look, good keen man here. Hello, Nigel. So, okay, report over. This is a lengthy little dispatch. Yeah, hello. This is the Allerton Gallery. The book has all the work in it. The digital book, hand-drawn covers. I think there's about 46 works in the show, 40 in this area and a few framed ones. Mr. Wallace brought that one for his collection, which was very kind of him to continue to patronise my efforts. Okay, hey, this is him. Hi, and we'll see you next exhibition. Cheers.